and reborn confirms it, but the red magic tower and the green magic tower both keep Senya's texts. The 3 original copies of the series of texts called Witchcraft, in which she wrote down all of her magic essence in her last years, are kept in Acreon. The text, Witchcraft, is considered the best set of magic texts in Aroth's history, so naturally there are no copies of it. Only the first volume was ever publicized, but even that should be good enough to broaden his knowledge in such a way that he won't need other texts. When he first read the first volume of Witchcraft, the stuff he learned from it made him feel like he was still a child. Of course, this recommendation letter isn't a guarantee that he will gain entry into Acreon, but he wanted to hear his thoughts first. Would he be all right with him writing him a letter? Eugene thinks that it's very all right, but in reality, he sheepishly accepts it and acts like he doesn't want to create any issues. Robertian notes that he shouldn't worry about stuff like that, as this much shouldn't be a problem for him. Eugene thinks that this man is willingly writing him a letter, so it shouldn't change his mind if he says something that might upset him, right? He hopes that a Tower Master won't be that petty, and finds the courage to ask. He notes that he wants to inquire about something involving his brother, Iode. It's something that he heard when he first arrived here. That his brother is not focusing on his studies, but indulging in pleasure with all kinds of succubi in the red light district. Robertian reacts in a certain way, making Eugene think that he surely knows something. He says that he isn't sure how to tell him about this, but it's true, and he has given him many warnings already, but he hasn't been able to stop these activities. Many men have died in the past because their spirits were sucked out by the succubi, but when Helmut opened up to the public, the attitudes of the Demon King and the demons changed completely. The succubi included, as they still suck out the spirit from people but don't kill like they used to. The Night Witch, Queen Helmut, forbids it. Eugene notes that this doesn't mean what his brother is doing is acceptable. Robertian knows that what he says is true, but he should try to be somewhat understanding of him. Eugene asks what he's talking about, and Robertian notes that Iode left the family residence for Aroth 4 years ago, and he came here with many expectations and high hopes, but his talent wasn't enough, so his hopes were crushed. He's experienced many failures. The mages tried their best to teach him, but it was a fruitless endeavor. Iode also had a ton of pressure on him due to his high status, and that only grew the more time passed. At first he thought it would be okay for him to loosen up a little, and he gave him plenty of warning not to overdo it. Eugene thinks that it's not like he doesn't understand this, as he knows very well how it was to live in the main family residence, as he's done so for 4 years. Between the temperamental Theonis as well as the cunning Anisilla and the twins who had plenty of talent, Iode faced way too much pressure for someone as young as himself. The only reason he still stays in the Red Magic Tower, despite the many criticisms people throw at him, is most likely because it's much better here than in the suffocating main family residence. He knows the situation here is pitiful, but messing around with succubi is just crossing the line. Even if they have changed somewhat, demons are still demons at the end of the day. They can never coexist alongside humans, ever. He will just have to see for himself exactly what he does with those succubi. On the night of the full moon, at Bolero Alley, Gargus and Eugene, who are now disguised, walk the streets. Gargus asks why they need to use transformation magic like this, and Eugene notes that they are children of the main family. So if they were seen in this dirty and evil place, rumors would certainly spread. Gargus says that he's right, and that's when a magic device rings inside Eugene's pocket, and he picks it up. The guide asks if he's in, and Eugene asks how he knew. The guide notes that this device only connects within the Bolero Alley area, and now he will send him a signal when he spots Iode. Eugene asks if he can even find him, as he will probably use transformation magic as well, right? The guide notes that he does no such thing, as it said he always wears the same robe, so it should be very easy to spot him, even from a distance. Eugene is a little angry that he's exposing himself so openly, and thinks that if he were his son, he would beat the snot out of him to fix his behavior. Gargus says that he told him he had other business around here, but Eugene notes that he will get to it on his own, as right now they have an auction to attend. Bolero Alley holds a ton of auctions, but they all follow the same simple rule: anonymous bidding. Other than companions, everyone is guided to their own separate rooms, and bidders cannot be identified by any means. A masked man shows them how the auction works, with the center button allowing them to bid, the left for any assistance, and the right if they wish to increase the bid. With that, he wishes them good luck and leaves. They sit down, and Gargus says that he thought he wouldn't be interested in the auction. Eugene notes that he needs something to pass the time with, and he's quite curious as to what exactly will be auctioned. The screen in front of them unveils the auctioneer, who thanks everyone for coming all the way here on this beautiful full moon night. Their auction usually deals with magical materials, and they resource the best, especially if those magical materials come from Helmud. Their first item is the Horn of Balarex, and the bidding will start at 10 million cells. They go through countless precious materials, like the fruit of Prosia, the root of a mandrake, or even the flower bud of a Yuzrak. Eugene sighs and asks if what he's looking for will even be here. Gargus confirms this, as he has it on good authority that the item he wishes for will be here. The next item is a metal that hasn't been identified just yet, and it's quite bothersome as it's just sitting in their storage. Perhaps among those who are participating today, a few may be able to value this metal. Eugene says that he's putting more emphasis on this item than the other ones, and the auctioneer says that this metal was found in Helmud's Khazard Hills. When touched by the moonlight, it emits a beautiful light. But other than that, it holds no purpose, as it's too hard to be processed and doesn't receive any sort of mana either. If one has a bed placed by the window, it may serve as a great piece of decor, as the light it emits when it touches the moonlight is very beautiful. The box with the item slowly opens, and Eugene notices what it is, so he instantly smashes the bidding button. Gargus is quite surprised, and the auctioneer asks how much he would like to bid. Eugene says 1 million cells, and thinks that he didn't know such an item would be here. A dull-colored blade, basically destruction in the form of a single blade, one that hasn't been recorded in history. This is a shard of the Moonlight Sword. He wins the item easily, and Gargus asks why he would even want something so useless in the first place. Eugene picks it up and confirms that this is indeed a fragment of the Moonlight Sword. The place where they found it, Khazard Hills, is where they found the Moonlight Sword in his past life, as they found it in the heart of an underground dungeon. Did Vermouth perhaps go back and seal it there when he was leaving Helmud? It is true that this sword is way too dangerous, as that sword only recognized Vermouth as its owner, and created mass destruction whenever it was swung. Perhaps Vermouth recognized this as well, and decided that it would be best if he just destroyed it. He initially hoped that the fragment would still contain some power, but it's empty. It doesn't emit any sort of energy like it did 300 years ago, and now it's just a silent rock. He puts it in his pocket, and that's when the guide calls him, as he's spotted Iode. He tells Gargus he's leaving now, who asks if he won't stay to watch the rest. Eugene declines the offer, and says that he will leave his card with him so that he can bid on his item. He gets out on the street and asks the guide for directions, who tells him that if he goes north, there should be a shop called Rafflesia. That should be the place. Eugene arrives at the location, and 2 large demons ask if he's a customer. He thinks that this is his first time seeing one after reincarnating, and in his past life, he would have slain them both before their eyes could even meet. He says that he would like passage inside, and the demons explain that the entry fee is 2,000 cells, with the fee being adjusted on the time taken and the type of dream he wants. Does he still want to enter? Eugene hands them 2 bills, and they welcome him with open arms. Inside, many men are mingling with plenty of succubi, and he sits down, thinking that Iode doesn't seem to be here. He asks the succubus, who just served him, where he can dream, and she smiles, saying that he must be in quite a hurry. She finds him quite adorable, and it's probably his first time here, right? He can dream in the basement rooms, but first he should have a drink, as he would express his desires more honestly if he were to do so. Eugene rejects the alcohol and wants to make his way down already. The succubus thinks that what he wants may be too embarrassing for him to say here, so they should make their way to a bedroom. While they walk towards one, Eugene says that it's quite scary, as he hasn't done anything like this before. The succubus says that he shouldn't worry about a thing, as they will just take a bit of his energy, and he will just be slightly tired the next day. Eugene assessed how they built this basement up until now, and thinks that his job here is done. He hands her a bill, and says that he only wants to sleep in his bed, so he will just pay for the drink. The succubus accepts him but finds him quite strange. He also asks for the nearest exit, and she points him to one that leads to a restaurant. Eugene gets out and tells Incubus that he wants the best of the food menu and plenty of meat. While having his meal, Eugene spots someone being dragged around. It's that rat bastard Iode. Eugene looks at that sorry sight of a man and wonders how the eldest son of the Lionheart family, descendants of the Great Vermouth, managed to not only mingle with succubi, but also receive support from the demons. They continue to drag him out, and Eugene slowly begins following them, wondering where they could be dragging him out.